Hello and welcome back to Tonjeinoslo Knits. This is where I share my knitting journey with you and thank you for joining me. So first of all, let's start off with what I'm wearing. This is the Forever Unicorn sweater. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen the All the Unicorn sweater quite a bit. It's my most popular sweater design, which is a kid's unicorn sweater. While this here is the adult size version with the same kind of motif. So it is quite the statement piece with this deep... I'm shedding. I'm on maternity leave, so I'm shedding a bit. Where was I? This is my Forever Unicorn sweater in this deep purple knitted in Rauma Vams, which is 100% non-superwash Norwegian wool. I really like knitting with it, as you will see quite soon. And yeah, what else is there to say? It's not a non-itch wool, I can feel that now. This has not been worn as much as the cat lady sweater, which you might have seen in my previous episode. But I think considering how the cat lady sweater is now a very well-worn piece, I think this would also itch less with wear. I think so. I have quite sensitive skin. So if you also have sensitive skin, know that this is far from merino, but it's still not the itchiest wool I've come across. Now, what have I cast off since last time? What have I finished? I have two finished objects, and the first one is this one here. See, there we go. This is a neck warmer with this kind of turtleneck. I'll fold it a bit better. Turtleneck, neck opening, and the circular. There you go. Circular shape. I mean, if this is size 2 to 5 years, and for all my friends with kids in daycare age, I knit neck warmers like this because it's such a golden piece to have in your kids' wardrobe if you have a child in especially the Nordic countries or somewhere else with a cold climate. This is perfect in the fall or the spring when it's chilly but not super cold. Then you can have this on top of a sweater, for example. But it also works really well underneath coats or other kind of outerwear where you still have this gap up here that you need to cover. Because if you're a kid, wearing a scarf in daycare isn't really a good option with strangling issues and all that kind of stuff. So my husband actually works in daycare, so I have made a neck warmer for him as well. He has the Vintergran cowl, is that what I called it? What is really the difference between cowl and neck warmer? If you add a pattern to Ravelry, it seems like cowl is the category that this should end up in, but maybe neck warmer is a better name for it. Now, I haven't named this piece yet. It is a pattern that I will release in maybe August, I think. So I've been thinking Bumpy car ride neck warmer, or just car neck warmer. It doesn't seem very creative with just car neck warmer, but if people are Googling, that would be a very useful name to have for it. So I haven't decided yet. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, you can add them in the comment section, which I, by the way, really, really love. I mean, I've been on Instagram for several years with my knitting, and YouTube is new to me. And it was just so lovely to hear from you guys. So thank you so much for thank you so much for welcoming me. And thank you for returning to this episode. So yeah, I'm glad you like what I'm making. And I was also surprised to see how much I actually enjoyed, YouTubing, video making. I used to study journalism back in 2009, 2010. So I have edited videos before, and I'd kind of forgotten how much I actually enjoy that part of the media world. So yeah, it's a lot more fun than I expected. So that's good. For this one, I used 1 ball of Sandnes Double Sunday in blue. I can add the color code if you want to have a look. And I think I just had enough yarn. I think I had like 2 or 3 meters left, maybe 5 meters, but not a lot left. So it was perfect to have 1 ball for this size. So this pattern will have sizes starting from 9 months to 24 months. That age range is mainly because of the height of the turtleneck. It's shorter for the younger kids so that they don't get it all up in their face, which they tend to do if they're lying down and such. But it will actually be in sizes, well, you'll have 9 months to 24 months, 2 to 5 years, 6 to 9 years, and then you'll have small, medium, and large as well, so that adults can have it as well. Because, you have people like my husband in daycare who needs to stay warm when they're outside for some reason. So yeah, I have lots of different neck warmers already. I'm not reinventing the wheel every time. Or is that what I am doing? I'm just making a wheel every time. What I find really enjoyable with neck warmers is decorating them with new motifs. So I was really pleased with this car. It was drawn when I was breastfeeding at 3 a.m. or something. So it's good to see that my creative side is still there. And I think I might want to make a sweater as well. I have girls, and my girl would like to have a pair of mittens in this as well. You'll get to see it. But I know that the boys I know in the age range around 3, they will love having a sweater like this. So that will probably happen. The next piece I finished, or almost finished, is the still nameless cardigan. It is now done. It has sleeves. I weaved in all the ends, but it still doesn't have buttons. So I don't have a big button stash. I'm trying to not build up a big button stash because I don't knit that many cardigans, at least at this point. It's mainly been for kids. So I try to just buy buttons I know I will use so that I don't end up with the same situation as I have for my yarn stash, which is way too big. So I found, I think I had 4 options and I found 2 that I liked, and I ended up with this button here, if it will show. But I figured that maybe the backside would be better. So I haven't decided yet whether I like the light side or the dark side best. I'll add some B-roll so that you can see, and you can comment if you think one option is better than the other. I'd love to hear your opinions on this. I do think this one looked really nice as well, though. It's made in, let's see if I remember the name now, Gepard yarn, Eco Cashmere Vintage. Vintage Eco Cashmere. I'll write down the name. It's the whole baby newborn situation meddling with my brain. Yeah. The yarn is super soft. It's 100% cashmere. It is expensive, so of course once I release this pattern I will not have that as the only option. I will add DK weight merino, and with most of my patterns I think you should be feeling absolutely free to choose whatever yarn you like. Just know that if you choose a completely different fiber than what I used, you might get a different expression and different results. But for DK weight yarns, there are so many to choose from that would give a good result. I know that I want to make this in toddler size as well for my toddler in Lerke. I know I have yarn in my stash that would fit that. It's light pink yarn that it was bought for a teddy blanket, and then I bought just 1 ball short of what I would need to actually knit the blanket, so there's no point in knitting a blanket with it. Of course I could make a shorter blanket, but I just figured, no, I don't want to do that. So I'll use that yarn for a cardigan instead. And what I figured with this, through the first samples I made in the smallest size, is that this is super stretchy, which is great when kids grow super fast because, I mean, this is the second size. I haven't figured out exactly what the months will be yet, but with the smallest size, it's technically a bit short for my baby at this point. She's very long. But it's super stretchy in width, so she can still wear it until I have gotten around to actually sewing in the buttons. So that's great. I made one in Dollar Merino 22 as well, which you can see in the previous episodes, and that one doesn't have the same kind of flexibility as this one. So I'm very surprised at how well that worked. So that's good. Now, I have to show you another. This is not a finished object in that sense, but it's definitely finished. This pair of trousers or pants will no longer be worn. This was size, was it around 4 years or so? Made for my toddler by me. And it used to be ribbing, which you can't tell anymore because it met its final fate with my husband and the washing machine. I'm feeling very much like an adult in that. One, I'm not freaking out about this. I know I can knit another one. It will be fine. It will take forever, but it will be fine. But this is, I have to say, it's my husband's fault, not the washing machine's fault. But we finally got a new washing machine because the old washing machine we had, which wasn't very old to begin with, it felt things that aren't supposed to be felted, but when I want to felt something, it doesn't felt it that well. So now we are getting rid of that one, and we got a Miele machine. I'm not sponsored, I just find that when it comes to washing machines, Miele is the way to go when it comes to wool. Of course, by getting rid of, I mean that we are reselling the old one. It's still perfectly fine to use, it's just not made for someone who knits handmade garments and accessories for a living. I mean, this is, of course, this isn't my pattern, but overall, most of the patterns you see here are patterns I make and I sell them, and it's part of my family's income, and we need a washing machine that serves us right. So we're reselling the old one to someone who doesn't need a delicate machine, and then we have the new one that will work for us for the next 20 years. So hopefully. You never know with technology, but I want something proper and sturdy and that treats my knits as they deserve. I could, of course, hand wash everything, but I don't want to. So, considering this, maybe I should, because I know this took a lot of hours, used to be so much bigger, and now it's so destroyed. If you have any ideas of how I can repurpose something as felted as this, I mean, it's super thick, then please let me know, because I'm like, what should I do with this? It can't be worn. It's baby size now, but it's really narrow, and yeah, what should I do with it? I don't know. Then we can move on to works in progress. What am I knitting on? Since we talked about cars, we can look at this mitten project here. It's not done yet, but I wanted to make a pair of car mittens matching the neck warmer. I'm making this in Hillesvåg, is it Sølje, I think? I have a bag with several balls like this, and among the labels it says Sølje, so I think it is that. Could it be Vilje? The white one might be Vilje and this might be Sølje. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's a nice yarn for toddler mittens with the sizes that I typically make. So of course I have to finish the second mitten and the thumb as well. And what do I think about it? It is a new design. It will be a pattern at some point. I was very pleased with the kind of night sky that I ended up with. I just think that I like the car better when it's dark compared to the background instead of light. I can post a picture of a pair that my mother made where you have a darker car and a lighter background. So I think that's what I prefer, at least. But people have different opinions on that. So when it comes to owls, which we will get to, I prefer to have the owls dark and the background light, but I see other people knit light owls and dark backgrounds. So yeah, knitter's choice, I guess. So this will probably be done fairly soon. I always, when it comes to mittens, whenever I pause a project, I always pause when it's time to set stitches aside for the thumb, which you can see here. Because I reach that round and I'm like, oh, I have to find some scrap yarn. And then I don't have scrap yarn immediately available. And then I'm like, oh, I'll just knit on something else. So finally yesterday, I found some scrap yarn. I set the stitches aside and then I kept knitting. So now it will probably be done. But of course, the top half here, or top third, it's not super symmetrical. So I need to have the chart with me at all times, which I have it on my phone, and I don't want to stare at my phone constantly. So I might prefer other projects at some times. But I like to have more than one project going in different kinds of difficulties. Yeah. Next. The next one's also part of acquisitions. So I'll just go and grab the yarn I bought. Aha! So this bag is not from a yarn shop, but I happened to go to a children's clothing store when I was also buying yarn together with my mother. One acquisition. In February, I only bought one skein or one ball, call it what you like. This one, which is for a project I'll come back to. But I also bought a sweater quantity of Rauma Vams. In these two colors. So for my mother, for Christmas, I made a swatch of this owl pattern, and then I wrote the card for her saying, if you like this swatch, I will make a sweater for you, and you can pick the colors that you'd like. We'll go yarn shopping in the new year, and you can pick and choose. As long as the owl can be darker and the background can be lighter, you can choose whatever. So she chose these two colors, which fit really well with her complexion. So I could show you the project. First of all, Rauma Vams, or Rauma yarn in general, comes in so many gorgeous colors. I love their whole color palette. You should definitely have a look. If you come to Oslo and you want to go yarn shopping, I really recommend going to Hillesvåg, which is in the basement of Glassmagasinet. It's downtown, it's very easy to get to, and while it's not the cheapest yarn store, I think they've just added 1 kroner to each ball compared to other shops. But you get every 10th ball off, so if you're buying, or every 10th ball free, so if you're buying a sweater quantity, you might get a ball free anyways. But they have so many gorgeous colors. I mean, oh my gosh, just going there is like visiting the rainbow. It's so nice. I really, really like going there and just looking. It's very warm down there, and ideally, I want a yarn store to have windows, natural lighting, and that is in a basement. So of course you don't have any windows, because that's where I get all nerdy. I used to study photography for a bit, so we talked a lot about lighting and colors, and with natural light you get every single color in the white light that you get, but with artificial lighting there might be colors missing in the light source, so you might not see the actual color that you're getting if you're wearing the garment that you're making outdoors. Of course, if you're going to wear that garment just in that yarn store, you'll get the color that you're thinking about, but overall, I prefer natural lighting. But with that store, I mean, the color selections outweigh the lighting situation. It's so nice. So let's get to the actual sweater. Here we go. Let's see, just making sure I won't drop any stitches, but also being able to show you what it looks like. Here we go. So if you see here, you can see this owl. I've added this border on top of the owl. Not done with the color work section yet. It will look similar to this Forever Unicorns. I'm sticking with the same kind of shape. So you'll have color work on top across the yoke, and then it will be single color sleeves and body, so that it's just a pleasant knit and a pleasant garment to wear as well. And probably some waist shaping as well, so that it's not a lot of loose fabric around the waist. And I think it looks good. Rauma Vams is lovely to knit with. Very woolly, while still not coarse in your hands. I keep shedding with the whole maternity leave situation. But yeah, that's not the wool's fault, that's my fault. And overall, I've come quite far so far. My knitting time varies very much. I mean, some days I barely knit at all, and other days I can squeeze in 2 or 3 hours within that 24-hour period of knitting, so I'm happy with my progress so far. I was thinking one ball of the contrast color should be enough, and my mom was like, "Are you sure about that?" So we picked up another one, which is probably a very good idea, because even though you can see the owl's face and the main part of the body, I still have the feet left and the branch that it's sitting on, or a branch E kind of thing that I've drawn. If you're curious as to how this will end up, you can see a fairly similar sweater in the Junior's Owl Sweater, which is a pattern I already have released. There are some differences in the chart to make the whole thing add up with sizing and so. So it's not identical to the children's version, but overall it's the same style. Similar kind of owl. Okay. So that was the mittens, the owl sweater. There's the teddy blanket that I was hoping to finish in February. There's still a couple of days left of February. I'll probably not finish it this month, unfortunately. I have one excuse in that I misplaced it for a week. It fell behind a piece of furniture and then I couldn't find it. And then once I found it, I had cast on other projects and I was really into them, so I haven't knit more than a round or two. If you want to see it, you can check out the previous episode. I'll just leave it for the next episode. Hopefully it will be done by then. And then let's check out how much yarn I actually used in January, since we're talking about January. During the pandemic, I got into bullet journaling. I don't like to buy a finished bullet journal with categories and everything given for me. I just buy a gorgeous notebook. I'm very much into notebooks. And I love this little detail here with the logo of the company, I think. I really like notebooks, and I try not to buy too many of them, just as with yarn. I have a master's degree in sustainability, so I'm trying to keep my consumption low, which is also why you probably won't see that many garments on me, because I don't knit 20 sweaters a year. I try to just knit things that I know I will use, and I'm a very warm-blooded person, so I don't need that many sweaters. Now we finally moved into a 60s house. I have a greater need for sweaters than before. When we lived in an apartment that was fairly newly constructed, but overall, I'm not the 20 sweaters a year kind of gal. So, this is in Norwegian, but I have this spread here where I you see here, I have one page where I write down all of the yarn consumption. I haven't written down my last purchase, but it should be there. And then here we have how much yarn I used. So it says that I purchased 650 grams in January, and did that be right? Yes. I purchased 650 grams and I used 331 grams of yarn last month. So far I'm buying more than I'm using, but I only bought yarn for one project. So I couldn't really cut that down without choosing a whole different project. So I think that's quite fair. And this month I've only bought 50 grams. Probably not finishing that much more than what you're seeing so far. But once the projects I have are done, then of course the category of used yarn will grow immensely, or at least quite a bit. So my last work in progress for now, I think I mentioned that I was casting this on in the last episode, and it is so off season, incredibly off season, because this is a gingerbread sweater for my kid, my oldest kid, and I think it's gonna be so nice. Sorry for the whole falsetto level of my voice, but oh my gosh, look at it. I think it's gonna be so nice. And a bonus is that this is Lerke, which I had in my stash. Of course, I'm not really happy with the fact that I bought so much Lerke at once several years ago. It was capitalism getting to me. I bought a lot of Lerke at once, and I bought a lot of sweater quantities, but all in size 6 to 12 months. So I need my friends to have babies, and myself. Now I have another baby that I knit sweaters for in that size, but with all the yarn I bought, I don't need that many sweaters in that size. But I did buy a lot of this cinnamon color. Some yarn shops call it cannelle, cinnamon. Others just call it brown, this color. But I bought a lot of it, which means that since I always buy a lot of white, or at least I buy some white when I buy yarn, because whenever you have scraps, you can use that white to make some kind of color work scrap yarn project, which I think works really well. Of course, you could try another color as well, but white will work with any kind of color that you choose. So I had enough white, I had enough brown to start knitting this in size 5 to 6 years, since it's for next Christmas, obviously. This is a cotton merino blend. So why did I choose that? I want this to be something you can wear indoors without getting way too warm as a kid. That's not fun, being too warm. So hopefully this will look good in the end. I haven't decided yet. I'm knitting it from the bottom up, obviously. But should it be set-in sleeves or drop shoulder where you sew the sleeves around the edge, or should it be raglan? I haven't decided. I'll knit the body until the armpit level, and then I'll just see what I think fits then. When I cast on, I was like, this is going to be drop shoulder sleeves, or drop shoulder construction. But then by the time I was halfway through the first chart to repeat, or actually the chart goes across 2, but I figure that, yeah, I think I might want to make a raglan instead. We'll just have to see. I'm knitting this one in 5 to 6 years, and then I have enough yarn for 6 to 12 months as well, so that we can have a sister matching Christmas next year. That will hopefully be very nice. And of course I want to make a pattern of this. If you think this looks familiar, it might be because I released this pattern last year. It's February. It was, 3 months ago. These are the gingerbread socks, which is why I bought this, because this is a ladies' sock pattern. And once this was released, I got a lot of comments from people saying, could you make this in a kid's size as well? So for next fall, I want to make a kid's pattern as well. So I've started that. This is the first prototype. And I made 2 pairs of these in the largest size, and I did not have enough scrap yarn to make a full pair for a kid. For my kid, but you know, in a kid's size. So I had to go and get another ball, which is not the easiest thing to do with this weather because it's been so icy in Oslo for the last, it feels like for the last eternity, but for 2024. So I finally got to a yarn shop, to Garntopia, which used to be my local yarn store. And I got this single skein that will help me finish this. I think I might make some minor adjustments. I mean, this has very long floats. It's not a beginner's pattern. You need to know how to lock down your floats, and you need to make sure that your tension is right. I'm actually quite pleased with how the wrong side's looking. I think I've managed to get the tension right. So I've made some adjustments to this chart compared to the sock pattern chart to make the floats as short as possible, but especially in the heart section, there will be long floats that you really have to lock in. So, but considering how well received this pattern was, I think people will like to knit this sweater as well. So yeah, that's me feeling all Christmassy in February. I love Christmas, so I could knit Christmas patterns all year round. And I love Christmas. Why do I not have more Christmas patterns in my collection? So that's my 2024 project, making more Christmas patterns like this. So yeah, that's all I have on my needles at this point. So it's now 20-something of February. On maternity leave, it's difficult to keep track of the days. It's the 24th, yeah. So, what am I planning to make in March? Well, I've cast on several projects. I'll probably just keep knitting them. Maybe the teddy blanket will be finished. And of course, Easter is coming up. Am I planning to knit anything for Easter? No, not really. My oldest, she has a bunny sweater that she can wear. It's called the Junior's Bunny Sweater. I really regret not calling it the bunny jumper. That would be a lot more fun as a name. Why didn't I do that? But yeah, it's called Junior's Bunny Sweater, so it'll just remain that. But overall, Easter's not my favorite season. I'd rather knit Christmas things during Easter than Easter things. So, not casting on anything for Easter. Apart from that, yeah, trying to not buy yarn. Stash busting a bit more. That's the plan. But you never know. We'll see. We'll see. So thank you for joining me for another episode. I'm glad you wanted to return, or if you're new, welcome. I hope you want to come back. I'll try to make another episode in a couple of weeks' time. You never know when you have a baby how much time you have for filming, but nap time now worked well, so yeah. Thank you for being here. I hope you had some time for your knitting projects while you were watching, and happy knitting!